Welcome back to Pro Football Addiction. We've got the Eagles and Rams in the NFC Divisional round this weekend. Another cold one, but unlike some other ones, no real wind expected, and it could make for a more fun game offensively. What are your high-level thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this game. The Rams were a dark horse Super Bowl contender for me in the preseason, and I think they've, despite stumbling along the way and having some injuries to some of their big weapons, in the end, they're kind of showing why, right? Obviously, last week they got playoff Sam Darnold, which I don't know about you, but I wasn't super shocked went the way that it did. Despite the Vikings having the season they did, Sam Darnold looking like a deer in the headlights in the playoffs. I think could be on a lot of bingo cards before the season, right? So obviously they're not going to, I think, come up against something like that with Philly. But altogether, I mean, it's an exciting game with two teams who I like a lot. It's hard to find a lot of holes in these offenses, and it could be a fun one. I'm glad the weather shouldn't be too much of a factor. It's supposed to be real cold, but like you said, wind shouldn't be a factor. So we've seen teams have success throwing and running the ball as long as the wind's not killing them. So I think it could be a fun one. Should be a good time.
That front for the Rams is pretty spectacular. A couple of rookies on it that I have a
Some of those Florida State boys.
Yeah, I have a particular interest in it.
Man.
I know they're really known as pass rushers, first and foremost, and Verse and Fisk and all the defensive line has been pretty good. Can they slow down Saquon Barkley though? Can they slow down a rushing attack that has just obviously been lethal? Could have been record breaking had they attempted to.
Sure. I mean, and that's obviously got to be the top priority, right? I think in the modern age of football, passing wins games, but you still got to stop the run on defense, right? Because if you're letting them run over you, they don't have to work for it. And that's got to be the Rams' top priority is, it's going to be hard to take Saquon away, but at least keep him from killing you, right? So, I mean, you brought up, Verse and Fisk, and that front seven for the Rams has been really impressive. I mean, Jared Verse was one of my favorite players coming into the draft. The way he was ragdolling, just tossing guys around in college, and not that shocking, but still pretty crazy. Got to the NFL and he's doing the same thing, right? He just bullies fully grown men out there, and if anyone's got a chance to, maybe weaken the reputation of this dominant Eagles offensive line, it might be a guy like Verse coming into his own and playing some playoff football at a high level. So we'll see.
Yeah, somebody who watched every single snap that he had over his 2 years in Tallahassee. I won't claim to have watched all the Albany games, but it's almost impressive that I think he's been somehow as a rookie better in the NFL than he ever was in college. Like he truly, and he was great in college. Don't get me wrong. There's a reason he was a first round pick. But just watching his games now, he just still feels like usually there's a drop off, right? Like you get to the NFL and it takes a little time to get there. It feels like he's better right now than he ever was in college against obviously much better competition. And so it has been pretty impressive to watch him specifically.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's brought that same level of physical dominance he had in college, and some technical improvements. He's better with his hands. I think he's more active. He stays more persistent in getting after it when he gets blocked up to start with. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be special in the league. That's for sure.
Is there a quarterback advantage in this game?
I've always loved Matthew Stafford, man. Jalen Hurts has had his moments. Kind of ironically, I think Jalen Hurts' greatest playoff performance ever was in the Eagles Super Bowl loss a couple years ago. I mean, he looked like an elite quarterback in that game. But that's also a couple years ago, and I think the luster's worn off a little bit for Hurts. Not to say he's not a good quarterback, but I think it'd be hard to put him in that elite tier with the Mahomes, the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Guys on that level, but he's not a guy who you worry about not helping you win games, right? But Stafford, we saw him step up and have that dominant run through the Rams Super Bowl win a few years ago. And I think physically he's as good as he's ever been. Puka Nacua is finally healthy, and Cooper Kupp's kind of taking a back seat, but I think it's okay for their offense. They're really scary. And if you told me that one quarterback was going to lead his team to a big win this weekend between these two teams, I think I'd bet on Stafford. He scares me in January, and I think he's going to come ready to play.
How about the other big thing that people talk about anytime, too much credit, too much blame when this stuff goes down, but is there a coaching advantage here?
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing head coach power rankings in the league today, you could put Sean McVay in the first spot, and I wouldn't argue with you. Obviously there's some big names out there who most people love, myself included. Andy Reid's got that long resume, and obviously Dan Campbell's doing amazing and really fun work in Detroit right now. But McVay gets after it, man. I mean, the stuff that they still do on offense to get creative in the running game, to block up runs for Kyron Williams in different ways, to create space for their weapons, despite defenses knowing coming in, like the ball's going to these places, they still consistently get it there, and McVay's a big part of that, right? So, it's hard for me to bet against McVay in a playoff game. And, the line on this one's Eagles -6. You can get Rams at plus 225 to win. If I was betting an underdog this weekend, I think I like the Rams. For that value, I think it's going to be a close game, and it wouldn't shock me for the Rams to pull this one out.
If you've got to pick it right now, are you gonna? I'll take the Rams. I'll take the Rams on the money line. I kind of agree with you. If they're I guess there is a team that's a 1 point underdog at home, so that
sure,
the value in that is zero. So
I don't know if I call that. Yeah, that plus it's that plus 225 number that I think.
Yeah, huge.
Play this game 10 times. I think they win it. They can win it more often than that to make that good money. Especially in a cold game, right? I mean, Stafford, spent obviously the first part of his career in Detroit playing a lot of games in a dome. His career best performance ever was in a cold weather game at Lambeau Field in December. He put up 520 yards, right? So, he's not going to have an issue throwing in the cold. I don't think the Eagles will necessarily either be super affected by the weather, which, the line for this game is at 44 points. To me, that feels criminally low. I'm going to hammer the over in this game. If you added wind to the equation, maybe it gets mixed up a little bit, but I think both these offenses should be able to find some success on this weekend.
So I'll take the Rams. Who comes out on top?
Yeah, I'll go out on a limb. I'll say the Rams. The Eagles are good on both sides of the ball, but give me playoff McVay and Stafford to win the day. I'll go Rams.
We can't take all four favorites, or three, right? Like the other one's a coin flip, but
right.
We'll go on a limb. Congratulations to Philadelphia for moving on to the next round of the
playoffs for a blowout victory.
I cannot imagine there's any way that this is not. Yeah,
and the over gets there, but it's 47-6.
Yeah, congrats to Philly fans. One of you up there needs it. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you want to see any of the other breakdowns, they're all here available on the channel. Do us a favor and hit the subscribe button on your way out. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon on Pro Football Addiction.